Joe Friday.
Thanks for having me.
Really, really glad you're here. And thanks for being here in person.
Yeah.
Because I get to feel your energy, not just listen to your voice. And I so appreciate that.
I think that's the only way to do it these days. I mean, I know Zoom is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because of technology.
It's a tool.
Yeah. But I think in person is great because you get to read energy. You get to look into the eyes.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Exactly. I got to tell you, I was a little intimidated to when Michelle and the team here, Michelle Archer, my producer, talked about having you on. I'm like, a chef, like I barely know how to feed myself. Like I'm still learning like in my 50s how to feed myself. And having been an athlete, I feel like athletes are sometimes the worst because you're allowed to eat a lot of food when you're an athlete without many repercussions, but you tend to divide food into their functional purposes.
Fuel.
I need protein.
Yeah, fuel.
It's fuel, and the idea that food is social and pleasurable, and you can tell now I actually do love food, and I do love to eat, but I certainly wouldn't consider myself a foodie. And yet, food is really about connection, isn't it? And about, I've heard you talk about it as expression. You express some of your creativity through food.
Yeah, I think food is, it's about community. And there's one thing I had in my mind I've been trying to put together for a while is like, maybe I can stop all the world wars if I can get all these guys in one room and like 6 or 7 of the best chefs in the world, and we just cook for them and allow them to have a conversation. Because when you come to a table and you cook with somebody, you break bread with somebody, you can build relationships there, right? So to me, that's important. I think that's what food brings to me.
That's so funny that you have that idea, because I've always thought about sport and movement as like, we could just get everybody else in, everybody that's leading the world right now, even the ones that aren't doing it so well, in a boat, in a rowing shelf, or on a soccer field, playing together and needing to work together. Something would emerge that's kind of magical, because it is about connection. Now, like I grew up, and I remember the exact moment that I thought of being an Olympic athlete. It was 1976.
Okay.
I was watching television. The 76 Olympics were in Montreal, and there was this gymnast named Nadia Comaneci, and she scored the perfect 10. She just was so strong and powerful, and well, I guess perfect, really. And I thought, I want to do that. I want to be an Olympic athlete. And I thought I could be a gymnast, but I don't know if you noticed, but I'm pretty tall.
Yeah.
But it was that moment of, oh, I see myself here. I see myself somewhere different than I am right now. And I wonder if you had a moment like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I played baseball at a pretty high level.
Okay.
Just borderline. I was about in the minors, and it's pretty
pretty high level.
Yeah, it's pretty
serious stuff.
Pretty interesting, because I was good enough to kind of get looked at, in college, and scouts are coming, and I hurt myself. Okay. And when you hurt yourself and you're not the top 2 or 3 or 4, you kind of don't have a lot of options at that stage, because it's like recovery's a year, then another year of getting the eyes back on you, and then so.
How old were you at this point?
I was 20.
You were 20, okay.
And so it's just like one of those, if you make it to the majors or the Olympics, whatever, you make it there, and you have the opportunity, because you know that they know that you can do it at that level. And it's hard to invest on somebody that they don't know if they can do at that level. So I had to make a decision. And I've always been competitive because of my sport background. And like the kitchen was just a place where you can be competitive. Like you can be better than other chefs. And there's ways that you can be better than other chefs.
But did you have a chef? Like, how did you even, like, I wouldn't think about being a chef as competitive. That would never have been on my radar. How did it even come on your radar?
Me being a competitive person.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it was on my radar. I had a chef that I looked up to, Jacques Pepin.
Okay.
Julia Childs.
Yeah.
Those are some of the notable names growing up. But then my grandfather, like, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool to just look up the people who are in your family, just that paved the way. But my grandfather was a chef, and he was a local chef in my town, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to cook for people, but I wanted to do it better than everyone else. So that's where the competitiveness came from.
The competitiveness. I also wonder, like, So for me, when I started in the sport, like I really had like a vision of it. Like I could see it, I could feel it, I could almost taste it. And it wasn't like, okay, I'm going to be Ontario champion. It was right away, I'm going to be Olympic champion, like almost before I even got into a boat. Were you thinking that far ahead, or were you just thinking, I want to, I mean, you said you looked up to Julia Child, some of these other incredible chefs. Did you have right from the get-go that idea that you would become great, that you would become a chef, which in itself is an enormous accomplishment?
100%. Like, for me, I'm not where I wanted to be then, but I'm very close. And for about 15 years in my career, I had to shut off I had to shut it off. Because what happens is if you just like live in it every day, it becomes like obsession. And I didn't want to be obsessed. I wanted to make sure every day I'm true to my craft, I'm true to who I am, and I'm kind to the people around me. Being a chef has the opportunity to be a very horrible person. Because
you see where all those reality shows,
yeah,
there's screaming and throwing in kitchens.
100%, and that was me.
Yeah.
At a point, I threw plates, I screamed, I did things that are out of character, I would say. But I had to turn off that for a long time, because it was just driving me crazy. So, I just wanted to get to a place, and now I'm there, and now I guess you can sit in it. I'm not completely there, but I'm starting to see some of the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
And so I'm enjoying the day to day.
I love the idea because, I've often thought it's been a long time since I was a world champion. It's been a long time since I was Olympic medalist. And I've thought about how different and yet similar I am today. How the things that when you're younger and you're trying to make it, in a way, you have to be a little obsessed.
Yeah.
That I didn't even like myself when I think back to how driving that competitive edge was for me. I mean, I think I'm almost the most competitive person I've ever met. And that helped me be a world champion. It helped me be so good at what I did. But like, what was it also shutting down? And I think that for me, looking back, maybe it couldn't have been any other way. Like maybe without all of that drive and passion and, the ability to focus in to the exclusion of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I do think there's a piece of that that's real for any kind of excellence.
Yeah.
That exclusion of, people's weddings, the things that you missed and family events. Was that also true? Because you went to Cordon Bleu. I mean, you lived in Japan, you lived in all these different places and countries, and your craft has taken you so many different places. Can you now, a little bit more accomplished and settled in your career, look back and see a difference in who you are today to where you were when you were really just starting to build?
100%. Like there's a huge difference of the. I listen to a lot of sports commentary. There's a guy named Skip Bayless, and he just he's crazy. He goes off the huff a lot, and he had said that I'm the same person he's 70 now. I'm the same person as I was 17, and I'm like, man, that's horrible. I'm different. I'm different, and I think there's a change every 2 years in like me being able to make adjustments in the way that I am, and I think that's a really cool thing. You mentioned about missing like holidays, those sacrifices, and man, they sucked. They really, really did suck. Like not going to Christmas for 10 years, or not flying home for Thanksgiving for 10 years. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. It's just like there's no like expectation of gifts. It's just expectation of time, and that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Thanksgiving too, and it's about food. I can understand why you love that.
Yeah.
But it's also for me about gratefulness.
Mm-hmm.
So Thanksgiving, Christmas, there's this build-up everybody's got. Not everybody celebrates Christmas. There's a lot of complexity around the Christmas holidays. Where Thanksgiving, it's like you're just with your people, whether your people are your family or your, the friends that you've chosen to travel life with, right?
100%. I have a question for you. Like, so being a great athlete like you, like, is it you wake up in the morning wanting to be dominant? Is that a drive? Like you wake up in the morning is like what is a morning routine when you on a day that you're competing? Like is it like I wrestled in high school and I was pretty good. I lost twice in high school, and like as a kid, I just wanted to have fun.
Yeah.
Until like my senior year, I was like, I can get a scholarship. I got to beat everybody. And so I had to, that changed, like from 13 to 17, that changed because every day I woke up that I had to compete to somebody that was really good. And like, you look at them, they're very physically intimidating. Mm-hmm. You have to change. It's a different mindset. So what was your mindset on competition day?
So gosh, I go like, absolutely. I not only wanted to win, I wanted to never be beaten. Yeah. And it was like super intense. Yeah. When I think about it, like it was the first thing I thought of when I opened my eyes in the morning.
You didn't think about cereal first?
Nope, not cereal, not food. How? It's like sacrilegious. I'm talking to a chef. I didn't think about food first thing.
Yeah.
I would think, okay, I gotta win the time trial today. I've got to beat the women's pair because we're having, a head-to-head with Marnie McBean and Kathleen Heddle, who were like the best world champion, Olympic champions. There was always that. Every erg test, every piece, everything I did, I had to be the best. And like too much sometimes. And I see that now that maybe I would have enjoyed success even earlier had I not been so driving and so in my own bubble, but it's easy to look back, right? It's easy to look back and go, oh, I wish I'd been more open-minded. I wish I'd listened to more people, but I was pretty singular in my intensity. And I think I loved what you said about, a gentleman that you really respect who at 70 says he's the same as he was when he was 17. And actually that's kind of sad because I too think, like we're a work in progress. Yeah. And we're supposed to be learning and growing. And, the beautiful thing is we have all the shit that happens to us in our life, right? Yeah. Like, so, I don't know if you know, but like way back in my rowing career, I had this accident in 1992, right before the Olympics. Okay. And I was the world champion. I was favored to win a gold medal. I got hit by another boat. And it was 10 weeks before the Olympic Games. And I was told I would probably never row again because literally shredded my leg, shattered my ankle. And the doctors told me the Olympics were over. And I just couldn't accept that prognosis. Like, it's over. Like, this is what I've thought about every single day since I was 11 years old. And I not only came back, I went to the Olympics and I won an Olympic bronze medal. And that was really interesting because I became well known in Canada as this woman who overcame this near career ending accident. And people, you may change, right? Like I've been changing and growing, but my identity for a lot of Canadians is still really embedded in that 10-week period of time. Yeah. So the temptation is to go back and sort of not rest on your laurels, but that's how people identify with you. And you need to bring them up to date by doing and being different. Mm-hmm. So like, I feel like life has just been, since then I've gone through a divorce, I've remarried. I have a daughter with severe autism. Mm-hmm. I wrote a book about mental health and, growing up in my house, and so many things have happened. But that's been very intentional on my part. Yeah. It's been the intention to not stay where I was. I mean, I'm really hearing that for you too, is there's, you're Chef Joe Friday, but you're also this person who does a lot of other stuff. You advocate for sustainability in the food industry. You mentor other young chefs, and you really, as you're moving forward, you're also reaching back. Yeah, 100%. Like 100%. It's like every day is like changing. The mental fortitude to do something when someone says no is kind of normal, but the mental fortitude to do that when a doctor says no, a professional doctor, is amazing. It's incredible. Like because doctors kind of like got the final say in some things, and it's just like,
no, man, I got this, and you did that. And that right there resonates to me in my career. Like, if I was the same old Joe Smo when I was 25 and now, I wouldn't be married. Like, no girl can handle the 25-year-old Joe. You know what I mean? It's just like that was the immaturity there, the way I seen the world. There's a lot of that still here, but the I guess just being a good person and the right, proper mentality. So changing, you have to change. You have to work on yourself.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and it's interesting too, because we can be defined by how we were, or we can choose to keep going. And in the keep going, there's a lot of ups and downs. Like, you're launching a new podcast. I'm launching a new podcast.
Yep.
Are we going to be good at it?
Yeah.
Hopefully. But if we're not right out of the gates, I'm going to figure out how to get better at it. This is something, these kind of conversations is something I imagined when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Imagine when I was a kid, I used to think I'd host a radio show. Remember when radio was really big?
Yeah.
And
you got a great radio voice.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, remember that? Hello, Delilah. That, yo, yeah. Yeah. My mom's a bit opposite. She's like, you've been away, because I don't call home that often as much as I like to, because I just travel a lot.
You're in North Carolina, right?
From North Carolina. And so, like, it's just, my mom, when I go home, she's like, she wants me to cook for her. Because this is like...
So would I, actually. It tastes better. She knows it.
Yeah. Like the first thing I did when I got from culinary school, I made her a couple of dishes that she's never made before. I mean, they're very familiar with their cultural dishes, some of the southern fare. That's absolutely amazing, and I love it. But it's I don't know, it's really cool to go back and cook food to my parents that they never heard of, like they've never thought of. And it's just like...
And to have them taste it.
Yeah, and like get their reaction from it, right? So that's really cool for me, but it's also cool just to go home and enjoy some of my childhood favorites,
a lot of people ask me about the Olympics. Of course, it's sort of, there's certain worlds that we can't enter easily, right? And one of them is being an Olympic athlete, but I would also argue one of them is being trained in a cordon bleu tradition and being amongst the best in the world. Can you just give us a little bit of a snapshot of how intense an environment?
Yeah, I mean, that's very intense. I mean, put yourself in a room with a bunch of people who want to be as good. You don't know exactly what they do when they go home, though, because that's when you become great. You become great when you're not on the clock. I think all those times, you hear those stories about athletes and like waking up at 5 a.m. or whatever it takes to kind of like get that edge. Like that's what, in my opinion, you become great, like taking work home. Like, so what I did in those times when I'm in the room where a bunch of peers or all of us are trying to be the next big thing or want to get the next job, like, at that time it was Ritz-Carlton or something like that. I went home, like as soon as I got out of school, I just went straight home, jumped right back in the book, and just like learn more and just try to learn more than what I was going to learn the next day and try to be ahead of the schedule, right? So I was top of my class. So like there was like it wasn't going to happen any other way, honestly. Like there's no one ever going to be able to outwork me. That's not going to happen. You may be more talented than me, no problem, but not going to outwork me. And so like I got an internship at Walt Disney World, one of the top 100 in the country at the time, to get this invitation. So I got to work at Walt Disney World as an internship. And then when I did that, I was working with some of the best chefs that were in the game doing it right then and there in front of you. And so that was really cool. And I was like
mass exposure.
Yeah, 100%. And you get to, and Disney's one of those places where they don't care too much about overtime. Definitely when I was there. And so, you can work your 40 hours, go do some studying, and then enjoy your weeks or your days off, or weekends or your days off, whatever. I didn't do that. I did my 40 hours. Then I went into the Disney portal and asked and see what other chefs need a sous chef for the weekend, or somebody to cut onions or potatoes or whatever needs to be done for the weekend, because you can just go work any restaurant. And I did that. And like my days off were working, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because I knew I was getting ahead.
And did you feel like you were given the right opportunities? Did you have people in your court did you ever feel like you were overlooked, or were you always given your opportunities based on like how hard you were working?
I worked off. I got all my opportunities off the merit. It's just like hard, genuine work. Like, putting my heads down, like asking questions, the right questions. No one's ever given me anything. I've given myself it. But I appreciate the people who helped me get to where I am. The challenges they give me, the personal support, right? So, like, I always tell everybody, like, the people that I mentor, like, look, man, don't ever look for me to do anything for you.
Yeah.
I'll give you the right tools, and you have to take this home. You have to want it, I can't be in your mind and help you want something. You gotta want it. And so when you want it, you're going to show me that you want it. You're going to work hard. I'm not going to have to tell you to do something twice. You're going to know exactly how to do it and if you don't know how to do it after I taught you verbatim, you're going to go home and then understand that and then come back. I'm never teaching it again. You'll be a pro.
And did you ever doubt yourself? Like as you tell the story, you just sound, you're like you had so much confidence. Like I'm kind of blown away, like you just got into that school and you're like, I'm just going to work my ass off and I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And but like, did you have moments where you thought, oh, I don't know if I can do this. It's too hard, or people are overlooking me, or I don't know what the next step is. Did you have those moments of doubt along the way?
No,
never.
Okay, never. That's a doubt and non-belief is
okay.
I think there's times where you're tired. And when you're tired in the mind, it's just like, it's not, I don't think it's doubt. It's just like, how much more, how much more is this going to take? And those times you can refresh and you can like reassess your strategy. And like, I don't sit here and say that I'm the best chef in the world. But through the process of me becoming the chef the way I wanted to, is I've learned marketing, I learned branding, I learned all these avenues that make me the best person to put in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And like
you're like the whole package.
Yeah. But I also can cook really good. I also can do all the different techniques that other like Michelin star chefs can do.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily my passion. I do that. I'm a private chef too.
Yeah.
So I do it for my clients. And that's one of the interesting things of social media is very, very honest picture of things. Not really, because it's social media, but I don't post a lot of photos of the food that I cook for my clients because it's their experience.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, people ask me like, why do you you can get more business? I don't need more business. Like I can't work. I'm only one person. So the people that I cook for this is theirs. This is their personal experience.
That's interesting. And it's interesting that you don't feel a lot of doubt because, you're one of those special people. Then I married to one actually. My husband, has been an entrepreneur his whole life, and I can honestly say he hasn't spent a lot of time in doubt. He hasn't wasted a lot of time in doubt, and I wish for that for myself. And I think as I've gotten older and more at peace with who I am as a person, I experience a lot less of it. But doubt is something that most people do struggle with somewhere along the line. Sometime, thinking that they don't belong or they're not good enough or whatever it is. Those are pretty common thoughts. And so it's interesting because a lot of high achievers have quite a high level of doubt, but then you get people like yourself who really, that hasn't been their battle. They've had other battles, but the self-doubt isn't that for them.
Yeah, interesting. I say confidence isn't a lake of buoyancy. Like salted water, you're going to float no matter what. You don't have to learn how to swim. You just float. That's what confidence is to me. Interesting. I don't have to worry about the professional doubt because I know I'm going to work hard. I was working hard since day one of my life. Like I was a sick baby. I was a baby with a very, very bad heart condition. And like, I was recently on visit my grandma. She's like, we didn't think you were going to make it. She's 90. And like, you think about those memories. Like, we didn't think you were going to make it. I'm so proud of you. You're on like, I just saw you on TV. You're doing
maybe you were a fighter. You're like,
yeah. So why am I going to doubt about professionalism when I had to work really hard to be like, like people told me I needed a heart transplant by the time I turned 30. Like I superseded that, like, as like, doctors told you can't. Doctors told me I couldn't either. And like, why am I going to worry about doubting myself and anything else? All I worry about is treating people good and working hard. That's all I have to worry about because the relationships are what's going to take you and help you get to other places in my business.
And in your personal life?
Yeah, I mean, I think the personal life, I mean, when it comes to like personal relationships, I think that because my professional life is so, I wouldn't say chaotic, but it's very busy. I don't want to let people down. And when I do let people down, I genuinely feel bad. Like, I just like, it hurts me because I don't, that's something that you should be able to control. And at the end of the day.
But do you, like, is being a chef something that's like when you're in it, you're about to open another restaurant. Maybe you want to talk about that for a second, but like, do you feel like everything else has to come second for a while? Like when you're building something new?
Yeah, it does. But like,
and not everybody understands that.
It does. Like there's sacrifices.
Yeah.
But like, so for me, this is for instance, on a regular weekend, I pretty much spend a little bit of time in the morning, like kind of like relaxing and not worried about opening my laptop or anything else. But then, maybe I have like plans with people throughout the weekend, and sometimes work gets in the way of that when I'm supposed to be off.
Yeah.
And that's when I feel bad, where like, okay, well, I need to do this for work because it's really going to help me, get to where I want to go.
How do you work that in your mind? Because, I mean, I think I'm similar, right? Like, we don't have typical jobs.
Mm-hmm.
My career has always been pretty central in my life. I've had kids, I've got a family, I've got people I love.
Yeah.
And they are my priority. However, when you have an atypical job, sometimes you really do continue to miss big events in people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're kind of that friend that can't be as predictable and as steadfast as other friends. Do you struggle with that? Do you sometimes think like, oh man, I wish I could show up even more for these people that I love?
Yeah, I do. I think recently, I put a quote on my social media about like when you have friends that are entrepreneurs, they understand more. And it's like I keep in touch with a lot of people, but not everyone is on the same level. Like they're like literally there's friends that if I see them in 10 years, it's cool. There's friends that I like to see a little bit more. And there's friends that just understand that, okay, he's an entrepreneur. She's an entrepreneur. I know they're probably going to be busy. Like I know that there's something may come up. So they understand it, But when we are hanging out, we understand. We cherish our time together. We try to have special moments, So like I think moving forward, this is a recent revelation for me. But moving forward, it's just like, I want to keep people around me who are like-minded. So your circle can be stronger, and so the energy for that for success can be stronger. Because if you're in a room with a bunch of like-minded people who have similar goals with you, you all can feed off each other. And especially like say I don't make it, but my buddy makes where he wants to get in life. I don't know what it may be, a private jet or just maybe a cab. Whatever goals he has, he gets it. Like we can celebrate that with him.
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? And it takes a fair bit of maturity and maybe some losses, like losing some friends. I certainly have over the years. And it's not always, like for me, it's not always about, having entrepreneurial friends or people who put their career central in their life. Because I think you're right. Like it's really great when you have a group of, for me, women, who understand what it's like to be a businesswoman, understand what it's like to, be pretty ambitious in what you still want to achieve.
Yeah.
Because you're speaking the same language, but also sometimes creatively, you're also feeding off each other. And that's just awesome. But I'm also okay to have people in my life who aren't that ambitious necessarily in their careers, who kind of understand but don't understand, but they're like compassionate and empathetic people. But what I've really changed in my life is I don't hang out with people who drain my energy.
Yeah, there you go.
Like there's just people, and maybe you knew them when your kids were little, or like for me, your kids maybe grew up together, and you realize, God, every time I'm with this person, I'm exhausted.
Yeah,
like
right there.
And like sometimes you just got to pay attention to that and go, that is for me the hardest thing actually, is cutting somebody out of my life, saying I can't hang with this person anymore. They're not going the same place I am. They're not vibrating, but on the same frequency.
Is it hard because a relationship that you have with them, or is it hard because you kind of feel bad about doing it? Because it's not hard for me.
Yeah.
I just like peace. We had a great moment in the sun.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how I feel, like, because I got to move forward, and if you don't want to move forward with me, then that's okay.
Yeah.
You can go figure it out your own.
I grew up in a family environment where love wasn't guaranteed.
Gotcha.
It was based a lot on you behaving and being a certain way, especially from my mom. And so I think, like, not having experienced unconditional love as a child has made me more susceptible to holding on to people that are no longer serving me, I guess, in a way, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, sounds kind of a bit, harsh, but it's made me less able with confidence just to do exactly what you do. Just roll with it and say, hey, you know what? We had a great 10 years. We had a great 15 years of friendship, but this isn't working for me anymore. I'm going somewhere else. And, you can come along, but like a lot of people don't want to come along. They want to stay where they are.
Yeah.
And they want to keep complaining about the same things.
Yeah.
And they want to keep being angry about the same things. And as I guess as I've loved myself more, I want to stay in the light. When you think about like your life path and those moments, for me, I was actually a really big moment kind of realizing I got to let some people go because I can't carry these bags anymore. I can't carry this load anymore. I need to move forward lighter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. I grew up in a military family, so it's easy. You meet somebody for 2 years and you're off to the next country or something like that. So it's pretty easy to cut people off.
Yeah.
Because, back then it was hard to kind of like make phone calls. Now we can keep in touch via social media, which is cool because there's been times where people reach out. Like, oh man, we were friends at 8 years old. Like, wow, that's so cool. Now that's a really cool thing about technology, though. But like in the day-to-day basis, current time is just like, it's just,
So in a way, your childhood was always being kind of interrupted by a move. So you've got like these very distinct chapters of, and this was when I was in Japan, and this was when I was in the United States.
Yeah.
This is when I was in Canada, right?
Second time I moved, I realized there's a pattern here. I was like, okay, it's going to be hard to have a best friend. I accepted it.
So what is there still left to do for you?
Oh, so much. There's so much. Like I want to get in a position to start some foundations just to help people get fed. Mm-hmm. Not food, but information on how to get out of situations. At one point, there's a thing I wanted to work on called Feed Toronto. Now I'm working on called Feed the World, and it's like free information stations, where like we were going to focus on seeing the moms, seeing single fathers, mm-hmm. on how to get that help, because man, it's hard. I can only imagine.
Do you have, like, as you look back, I don't want to call it regrets, but do you have like moments that you can reflect on and think, I wish I'd made a different choice at that moment?
I had this thought in my mind about 2.5, 3 years ago about like mistakes or like second chances or what ifs. And I tried to think really hard on all of them. And I felt that they were all useless to even think about. It's just like
give me one of your mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a career mistake, maybe not taking a certain job. I don't want to really mention the job because it's a really big job. Not taking this job that's going to be the financial stable. Like, this is before I moved to Canada.
Yeah.
And then moving to Canada. And I think that right there, it's just like, it's a pretty big job. One of the top.
Now I'm super curious.
Yeah, one of the top 10 jobs in America when it comes to my profession. And I turned it down, and it was just like.
Why'd you turn it down?
It was because I'm an entrepreneur, and it's hard to just work for people.
impossible if you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and it's just like and it's just like, okay, well,
I'm married to one, so
yeah, it's just like, this is crazy. Why am I doing? So I turned it down, and if I think about that and like think about what that money would have done or changed my life, or I could have been more far advanced, or I could have got fired earlier, or I could have, like, so many ifs.
But
I don't like it.
Could have, right? You could say all that, like, I could have been wealthier, and I could have been like, that money could have gone and opened like 5 restaurants.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side of the could have, right? Because it could have been like led you to like a major depressive episode, or it could have led you into like having a huge conflict with somebody who was really influential. Like that. The thing is, we don't know, right? We don't know about the things that we said no to and how it would have unfolded. So you're right in a way.
There's one thing in that story, that the biggest if. So no one really knows this because I don't talk about it. There's no article that I've ever told about this except for the really close people around me. I was homeless for like 10 days, and that if would have never happened if I would have taken that job, because I was homeless in my entrepreneurship. I was like, I'm never going to work for anybody because these people, everyone, I don't think no one's as a nice person as I am, and I like when it comes to like being an owner of a business. So yeah, I was homeless. I was like hopping, and this is in Toronto, and maybe there's too much
pride. It's a tough place to be homeless.
Yeah, maybe there's too much pride, but I was hotel hopping. I was like, my buddies are coming in at midnight. I'm just gonna hang out in the lobby. It's under one of the other guys' name. So I did that for 10 days in a row, and then I got a job at a sandwich shop, and then like that was the thing for me. Is like I gotta go work, and that hurt me. And so I worked for like, I worked for a year, and then opened up Calii Love.
I'm really feeling that, like when you just, I just like, sorry, I got to stop, because I was like, you must have felt so vulnerable. Like,
yeah, I could have called my dad at any moment, and like everything would have changed. I'd have been fine. I got a family that's very supportive, but I also don't want to let them down.
But you were ashamed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how sometimes, like, when you're at your lowest point, that's when you resist.
Yeah.
Reaching out, right?
Yeah. I was a phone call away from like, yo, Pops, I need some help. I could have been playing golf in 48 hours, but
yeah, exactly.
But it was just like, okay, I lived in it. I made the decision that I'm not going to work for anybody.
And do you think, not to project too much, but I can't imagine that experience actually had a pretty profound effect on you, in the fact that like you're so interested in food security.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a correlation there?
Yeah, I mean,
because you actually knew what it was like to be facing the abyss.
Yeah, I mean, I had enough money to eat McDonald's every day.
Yeah,
but
there you go.
but that's not good. And it was not good. I just, it was rough.
I got 2 last questions for you.
Yeah.
One's really one's actually about reading. I'm a big reader, and I had dyslexia as a kid. So
me too.
Did you have dyslexia too?
Yeah,
that's interesting. So did it take you a long time to learn how to read?
It takes me a long. Now it still takes me long. I got to read things twice.
Yeah, I got to.
My wife can read like 13 legal documents by the time I finish.
Legal documents, the worst.
Something, yeah,
the worst. Do you read though? Do you read for pleasure?
I read for education.
Do you?
And
okay, so still a barrier.
Yeah, but I also listen to audiobooks a lot because I'm more of a visual learner, and I can visualize when I'm listening, and so like I do read. I'm reading a book right now called The Power Broker. It's about one of the most successful builders in New York's history. He kind of built New York.
The Power Broker.
Yeah, that's the name of the book. It's about that thick.
Yeah.
It was recommended to me by a friend of mine who's a lawyer, and it's just like,
okay,
it's insane, it's intense. To get to meet people, and I say that because if somebody writes a book proper, you can meet them.
Yeah.
To get to meet people in their element and understand what drives them, really, I'm really eager to learn more about that.
Yeah.
And the Power Broker takes you to why this guy had this vision of building New York City.
Yeah. And there's nothing better than a book, is there, from that perspective? Because you can go so deep.
Yeah.
It's just like you've got that whole, 600 pages, 400 pages, whether you're reading it or listening to it. Is there a book that you remember being like pretty fundamental in like changing your mindset or influential to you in some way? I mean, the one you're reading right now sounds like a a lot of what you're reading.
Yeah, this book. So you heard of Thomas Sowell? Have you heard of him?
Think so.
He's an economist. He's a black economist in America, and he doesn't have a lot of the same ideas as most black people in America when it comes to certain things. So he has a couple books one's called the Black Redneck.
Okay.
One is called Wealth and Politics. He has one book about Irish immigrants, and it's all about disparity in communities and education and learning, and like, don't be woe is me. Don't sit here and like wallow because like there may be a race difference and you think other people are getting an opportunity. I think that's one thing I said at the beginning of this podcast is about me just working hard and earning things on my own merit. And he speaks about that a lot. And so I think that book, him in general changed a lot of my mindset because of what you hear that's so common of like blaming everyone else for your failure.
Did you feel at some point when you were becoming a chef that being a black man would be a barrier? Was that your old mindset, or did you always have the mindset of like, screw it, I've
always had this mindset because I have great parents. My parents taught me that everyone's equal, and if you get equal opportunity, that's what it matters. And so my parents taught me that, but like reading his books kind of gave me reassurance.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. That's cool. I certainly remember for me, I think reading so late in life, really, like I didn't really read recreationally until high school.
Yeah.
But it was like opening an endless portal to the world.
Yeah.
And we lived, because my mom had a mental illness, I think we lived a very isolated life. Mm-hmm. And books were a way of like blowing open the world.
Yeah.
And that's so cool.
It is.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Is there something about those tween years, when you're not yet a teenager? So maybe it's not 13 for you, maybe it's 11, but do you have a piece of advice like now as this, incredibly successful, vibrant human that you would give 13-year-old Joe?
So, yeah, there's two answers to this. The first answer would be to stick with wrestling. And then I would have been maybe in the Olympics because I was really that good in high school. I was pretty dominant. I just came back from North Carolina and like we were sitting in the restaurant and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I'm from that town." I was like, "Yeah, I beat everybody in that town when I was in high school." He's like, "What do you mean?" And I was just like, in that area, I was like, and then people started.
You were the guy.
People recognized me, so like, yeah, maybe stick with wrestling and do that in college instead of baseball. But if I was the 13-year-old and I chose this path, then it would have been maybe take a couple business courses along the way because my business courses have been hard knocks, like just the street.
Learn by doing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you.
It's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah, I feel like we can go over hours, but
we can go for
the sun must go down at some point.
Yeah. And well, you know what? I would say it's the beginning of hopefully a few more conversations.
Yeah, we got to bring you on That's the Move.
Yeah, that's the move. I love the name. That's the move, Yeah. And it's true, right? And there's so many different levels that title works on, that name works on. I think about it from a dance perspective, and I can think about it from a life perspective. And I think about it from a sort of spiritual, emotional perspective too.
There's a lot of ways.
So it's been a pleasure. You've been an amazing guest and so generous with your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into Inflection Time. I hope our conversation inspired you to think about inflection points in your own life. If you enjoyed our chat, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to grow, so keep embracing those turning points. Until next time, I'm Silken Laumann, and this is Inflection Time. I'd like to thank my sponsor, Good Life Fitness, and Tall Boy Water. A big thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their stories with us. I'd also like to thank our fabulous production team, our executive producer, Michelle Archer, our producer, Phil Kluba, and our communications director, Christine Bays. Inflection Time was created by Archer Co. Acronym and me. As an Olympic athlete, it's not surprising. I love working out and I love going to the gym. Strength training is so important for bone health, for metabolism. And our partner is Good Life Fitness. They are offering a 7-day pass to all of our listeners. Visit our description to access your 7-day pass.